Oh, yes, it just did happen. Suge Knight speaks about security asking Frank Alexander to lie and say that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain at the MGM that night. Wow. What security would that be? Could it have been Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. who wasn't there? Oh, no. Let's get into some of this straight game. This is interesting.
Blackjack. Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It's very much appreciated. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. Ladies and gentlemen, Suge Knight just recently, as I've made a video discussing this matter before, and it goes into, once again, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. and what he had asked Frank Alexander to lie about. Recently on the Dave Mays Breakbeat podcast, if you will.
And then when you even look at the other situation, why would Frank make up a lie and says when we was going to MGM, Orlando tried to take Pac's chain? He said that to the police, and then I heard he went to the grand jury and changed and said he lied. He said a security person told him to lie. Why?
Yeah, Suge went in. He went in, and he talked about that. And what's so interesting about it is he said that why would security lie, right, about Orlando allegedly trying to snatch Tupac's chain? Why would Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. lie about that, right? And if he wasn't there, you have to understand that. You see, a lot of people have been overlooking facts in order to be entertained by nonsense and things that don't make sense. You know, I do a video and still people in the comments let you know that they haven't watched the video because they asked the question that was specifically answered in the video. So before you formulate any kind of question that you want to ask me, because I don't mind answering the questions, please watch the video, because you only reveal the fact that you haven't watched the video and that you're trying to troll based on the title itself, and you haven't watched and taken in all of the information. See, this is the problem. But what I find interesting is the fact that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. would ask Frank Alexander to lie, right, to investigators in regards to what happened at the MGM Grand when Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. wasn't even there. Don't you find that ironic? And so, as to the reason why, and this can't be denied, this is Frank Alexander said it. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Even admitted saying it, but never really gave a true explanation as to why. And so it only muddies the waters as the waters have already been muddied with so many lies, mistruths, misstatements, and things of that nature. So once again, when I've come to you and I've told you the things that I've told you, and I call Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., right? These are specific reasons, among many reasons, that title is appropriate. That name is appropriate. Not only because of the fact that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. tells everything that he knows, even things that we wouldn't want to know. But he has also admitted that he is to be considered an informant, and he is willing to cooperate, asking Phil Carson, have you read the 302s? I had to look that up. I actually had to look that up, what a 302 was. A 302 is a FBI, it's like a form that they fill out, the FBI when they're taking a statement, if you will. And so Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. basically was saying that he asking Phil Carson, hadn't they read the 302s based on some other statements that he had gave the FBI, and for them to understand by reading those 302s that he was an open book and he would have cooperated based on whatever he knew in regards to what they were investigating, if you will. And so, very important, but more important, once again, is if Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was not at the MGM Grand and he was at Club 662, as Michael Moore had confirmed, right? And when it came down to an investigation and people giving statements and, people making various threats and things like that, why would Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. suggest or try to coerce Frank Alexander into lying and saying that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain? You understand what I'm saying? This is what Suge said. This is not what I said. This is what Frank Alexander said. This is not what I said. Once again, when I told you if I'm going to bring you some enlightenment on information and trying to find out the truth of the matter, right? Or better yet, point out the lie in the matter, right? I'm only going to deal with the facts that it involve. Not nothing I'm suggesting, not no speculation that I want you to believe. I don't want you to side with me on any of those things. So the question is, once again, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was not at the MGM Grand by his own confession. But when it came time to do an investigation, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. wanted Frank Alexander to lie and said that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain. Amazing. And so once again, like I've told you before, all of the name calling that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was doing with me, all of the name calling he was doing with Suge, that he was doing with Snoop, that he was doing with Daz, that he was doing with DJ Quick, that he was doing with all of the people that he has mentioned and spoken ill of, right? Once again, these are nothing but clout chasing distractions in order to garner revenue on YouTube with him and Gullible John over at Bomb First. You understand what I'm saying? This is tantamount to piggybacking off of somebody's, I wouldn't even call it misfortune, if you will, but just using somebody's name and just making crazy accusations about them, if you will, in order for people to say, ooh, when Reg opened his eyes, he about to go in. But these are serious questions that I'm posing. And like I said, once again, when I heard Suge Knight speak on that, I was like, wow, that's very interesting. He said basically that security would ask Frank Alexander to lie about Orlando from that perspective. When the person who's asking Frank Alexander to lie, right, wasn't even there. That's what makes people say the things that they've been saying about Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., the conspiracy theorists and the conspiracy and the information, because like I said, this was said by Frank Alexander when he was alive. So this is the reason why all of these stories are being told, but a lot of this stuff is actually factual, and that situation involving that, because Frank Alexander actually had said that. And here it is right here. This is a grand jury testimony. right? These are facts. And I don't know who that would help and how that would help them in Frank Alexander saying that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain. Reggie the Rat Jr. tried to make it seem as he was trying to help Tupac. But how could you help Tupac when, in fact, Frank Alexander had already said that Reggie wasn't there, and Reggie had already said that. Why would Frank Alexander want to perjure himself? You know, that puts him in even the worse position. So now whenever he says anything, it's not to be believed. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't, as to how that could help Tupac out, and they got 1,000 different cameras inside the MGM Grand, wouldn't work. And as a matter of fact, you best believe there's some angles from cameras that we hadn't seen from the MGM that night that they didn't put out on to the public. And so, you know, that's going to be shown, I believe, if this trial with Keefe D, you know, goes further and he doesn't cop a plea, I believe that that's going to go into evidence, and, you know, they're going to exchange that in discovery from that perspective. But the big question is, why would Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. want Frank Alexander to lie and said that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain when that didn't happen? Y'all chime in down at the bottom, man. Your boy Delray, straight gang.